Good morning. Please go ahead and take your seat. It's that wonderful time. And guess what? It's Friday morning coffee again. So this is our fall session. And please attend and please tell your friends that we go along here every Friday morning and we want them to come as well. I know it's replayed on our in-house TV, but there's nothing like being live and in person. Well, Farmer Phil Bonelli has a farm, E-I-E-I-O. And on this farm, Hopewell Farm, he raises grass-fed beef, pastured poultry, pork, and eggs sold directly to customers in the farm in-store, right? Okay, as well as deliveries in local markets. In 2024, Hopewell built Georgia's only Department of Agriculture certified poultry abattoir, reflecting Phil's commitment to sustainable farming and community-based food systems. Phil is also a founding member and CFO of the North Georgia Land Trust, where he conserves land for future generations. He serves as vice president of the Hall County Farmers Market and is active in Hall County Farm Bureau. Beyond farming, Phil is the CEO of Roundtable Advisors, a fractional CFO and consulting firm that helps small and medium-sized businesses scale successfully. This role gives him a unique perspective at the intersection of business, land stewardship, and community development. Phil and his wife, Lindsay, also raise children on this farm. They have 5 children, and we have one of them with us today. Weston, welcome to Lanier Village. The whole family is committed to healthy soils, healthy people, and healthy communities. Please welcome Phil Bonelli.
Thank you.
I didn't know all that about you.
I know. It makes me sound good, doesn't it? I got this award several years ago as Georgia Trend Magazine 40 Under 40. And I felt pretty cool that I got this award. And I went to the award ceremony in Atlanta, and I got to meet all the other people that won the award. And it was very a great learning experience for me. And then I learned, boy, there's a lot of people in here that, boy, they sound good on paper, but I don't know. So anybody can sound good on paper. So take that with a grain of salt. Okay. But we are Hopewell Farms GA, and we are about healthy soils and healthy food that comes from that to build a healthy community. Here is Weston with our neighbor, Mr. John Clark. And I will tell you, we're going to go on a fun little journey together. And that when I put these slides together, I used an AI tool. And I just uploaded some random pictures of the farm. And I said, I want 10 slides, and I want them to be about this, fill in the rest. And it did. And I did need my assistant to go and tweak some of the pictures. But for whatever reason, maybe they thought that my neighbor John was me. And so that's what they put on the front slide. But this is Weston and our neighbor digging a hole that the local 4-H came and did a soil study. All right, from banker to cowboy. I was a commercial banker. I went to the University of Georgia, and I graduated in 2007, and I started being a banker in December of 2007, which is the month that the recession started. So it was an excellent, excellent learning opportunity for sure. And I loved being a banker because I worked with businesses, and I love business, and I thought it was I felt just honored, and I felt so humbled that I got to go and be right there by these business leaders and business owners. And I love that. And so I was a banker, and we started having a family. This is my lovely wife, Lindsay. And in early 2019, we were thinking, hey, we lived like right off Club Drive in Gainesville, right up the street, which is a wonderful place to live. And primarily because we lived across the street from Louise Forrester. So that was just delight. But we wanted to just have a couple acres to run around on with the kids. So we were like, hey, maybe we could get a house on 3 acres or something and have a little fun. And we found a house on 10 acres, and we liked it, but it was part of a 43-acre farm, and they were selling the other 33 acres separately. And we could not afford the whole thing, but I just thought, man, I don't want to get this 10 acres with my family and somebody builds a subdivision around us. So I just got creative, and I figured if I put a kitchen in the basement, it's got its own garage, its own setup, I could rent that out and get the whole thing. So that's what we did. So right at 6 years ago, we moved to this farm. It was a working cattle farm. I'd worked out part of the negotiation with the owner. You can just keep your cows here. There's a lot of grass. There's 43 acres of grass. I don't even have a riding lawnmower. So he kept his cows there. But I started thinking, I just have a very entrepreneurial bent. And I was like, man, I got 43 acres. I need to do something with it. Maybe I'll turn part of it into a Christmas tree farm. Maybe I'll do this or that. And I thought, I want to get some cows. My parents got me a book, Raising Grass-Fed Beef. And it was a great book. It was like a textbook. And I thought, I'll read this whole thing, and then I'll know everything there is to know about cows, because I knew nothing about cows or farming at all. And I was going to buy half the cows from my neighbor Ricky, and he was going to move the other half off. Well, I got about a third of the way through the book, and then it was early spring, going into spring of 2020, and Ricky is like, hey, I'm ready to move these cows, so if you want to get them now. So I went ahead and got the cows. And there was a great lesson for me, in that if I had read this whole book, that again, very expansive, it's wonderful, it tells you everything you need to know, I would have remembered maybe 5% of it. Because I didn't have cows yet. I didn't have anything to apply it to. So once I got these cows, I knew enough to keep them alive, and I was doing the stuff. And I realized, oh my gosh, well, when I read the book and it said this, that means something different than what I thought. I see now I have cows. So we embarked on this journey. So it was a good lesson to me. There's just so much knowledge available for everything. And sometimes when we want to do something new, we're waiting till we have all the perfect knowledge. And perfection, except for when it comes to Lindsay Bonelli, my wife, perfection is just a myth. It doesn't exist. So we have to get some knowledge and move forward. And I'm a major proponent of learning. But I'm learning, and I've learned since then because I'm doing. So then I kept reading books and more books and going to workshops and YouTube videos and learning trial by fire. But there's a lot of great resources, so we built this farm. Here's a picture of the farm in the middle. There's our barn, and on the right is the farm store. We have an honor system farm store, so people just come. It's really open 24/7. If you get a hankering for eggs at 3 in the morning, you're just showing up. I don't even have a key to the door. The lights stay on. You go in and get eggs. And here is some of the kiddos. It's working great. People could have stolen $10,000 worth of products. I actually would not know. But I seriously doubt that. And I have learned in kind of leadership and overall life, it seems that when you place trust on people, they often will rise to the occasion. And I also don't feel like the kind of people who are really into all natural foods are kind of like the Steeler type. It just doesn't seem to go together. People want to steal money, and I have a locked cash box that's bolted to the wall. But I have a bracelet on, which I actually had this motto. I made this bracelet for the farm and for running the farm business, but now it's the motto of my consulting firm, run it by the numbers. And if I just look numerically, if I were to pay somebody to work at my farm store, which I don't pay anyone to work there, nobody works there. If I were to pay somebody, that would cost a whole lot. So somebody would have to steal a lot of meat from me every week to make up for what I'm not paying. So if somebody steals $250 a week in meat, I'm still winning. Sounds like an invitation. You just come on. I trust you. I trust you. And I also did figure if somebody just needs to steal a pound of ground beef, then God bless them. I don't want to be hungry. Here are 3 of my kids. Weston, who is older now, and boy, I look older too, don't I? Libby is in the middle, and Caroline. This brings up a great point. Because we are direct to consumer, so I don't sell into a commodity market. Most farms, if you see cows around here, it's highly unlikely that you can go and get beef from that farm. That farm is part of a system. They would likely have mama cows, they hope to have calves every year, and they sell them at auction, where they then go to another farm or to a feedlot where a different group finishes them out, gets them all fat, and sends them off. So because we are not that, we sell to people, we have a much more complete business need, if you will. There is marketing. There is more substantial accounting. We make deliveries. So there's all these different roles. And I think of that because my daughter, Caroline, the taller one there, she really doesn't care about the farm stuff that much. I mean, if we got to catch some pigs, Caroline can do it. Tomorrow, we're running our poultry processing plant. We're going to harvest about 750 broilers. Caroline and Weston will be packaging and vacuum sealing the chicken. Like, she can do it. But her thing is not the outside farm stuff. She's very crafty and artsy. And she started making chapstick out of the lard from our pigs and called it Kiss a Pig chapstick. She also, I could see she's used to directing a lot of younger children, which Weston often is the recipient of, that direction. And so I could see her running like a kid's summer camp. So that's something that we do. It's part of our farm business model that is only possible because we sell direct to consumers. So we have these different products and we have people to the farm. So I love that should my kids choose to be a part of the farm when they're older, there's really something for everybody. I mean, if Libby really loves accounting and finance, good. I need that. So that has been fun. What is regenerative agriculture? Regenerative agriculture is what we do. So we are raising animals that we eat and we sell the meat from, as you would imagine. And we're raising veggies and we're doing these things. But regenerative ag is the method in which we do it. So if you think about your body, you cannot manage your health in a linear fashion, meaning you can't just say, well, I'll give you an example. My mom has high blood pressure, I guess. So her doctor was like, hey, take this blood pressure medication. So she did. But her body, as all of ours, is very complex and interrelated. So she took this medication for her blood pressure, but then it gave her these other worse side effects. So then they gave her another medication, which had another round of rough side effects. And if she had wanted, they probably would have just given her another medication to deal with the side effects of the first medication. And all that to say is that, we can't just say, well, there's this issue, I will apply this chemical intervention and it will fix this issue and it won't do anything else, right? That's not how things work. And that's not how nature works either. So agriculture has looked at things in a linear fashion. For example, the norm with cows is, hey, we want those cows to grow faster. And so what the norm would be is when a calf is born, like you'd see this cute little guy, this cute little lump of black and white there in the grass. That was a little calf that was born one morning. And so the standard is that you implant them. You put a little implant behind their ear, I believe, of a synthetic bovine growth hormone. Because bovine growth hormone makes cows grow. So it's give more of that growth hormone, they grow faster. And they're supposed to gain 30 or 40 more pounds by weaning weight. So that's a linear approach. But I don't really want to take that approach. In fact, I'm abhorred by that approach. Because if cows already have bovine growth hormone, shouldn't I work within nature to let them grow at the pace that they're supposed to? Because I don't know if they're injected with this growth hormone that makes them grow at an abnormally fast rate. Is that going to make cancer cells grow faster in my body if I eat the beef? I don't know what it's going to do, but I don't want to find out, because what I do know, and I'm convinced of more and more with each additional thing I learn at the farm, is it very much seems to me that there was an intelligent designer that created the system, and it works very well together. So I just want to be a steward of that so that it works its best. So regenerative ag is we're working to regenerate the environment, and specifically the topsoil, what we do. So how do we do that? Number one, we don't put anything on the land that kills the good, healthy stuff in the soil. A handful of soil, of healthy topsoil, has more living creatures than there are people on the planet Earth. there are billions of bacteria, fungi, the things you would see in an earthworm or an ant or a bug. So there's this hierarchy of the bigger bugs and creatures are eating organic matter, breaking it down more into its chemical components, and then the roots in the soil, the living things in the soil make that soil soft and permeable, stores water, and the fungi and bacteria are key for getting nutrients and water to the roots of the plant so they can thrive. So we want to build that up. So we don't spray any chemicals on the soil. There's no fertilizers, no herbicides, no pesticides. But it's very handy that we have these animals that move across the pasture, and every day, multiple times a day, out of their back end comes fertilizer. It's very cool. Just again, it's almost like it was designed and created, that they're walking around fertilizing. And some fun trivia, a mature cow, on average, produces, between solid and liquid forms, 50 pounds of fertilizer a day. And I have 50 cows at my home farm. So they're fertilizing heavily. And the difference is that that is the way it's designed. So that comes in a package, if you will, that is very bioavailable for plants versus if I just said nitrogen, that's a thing that's in manure, nitrogen makes green things grow. And if I took a linear approach and I said, I will spray nitrogen on my pasture, and that would make green things grow faster, but it would also kill some of that living stuff in the soil. And then it would also make weeds grow faster. So then I would keep on this linear approach, and I said, well, I wanted to make green things grow. These aren't all the green things I want. I will spray an herbicide, okay? And that is going to kill some of the weeds, not all of them, but it's also going to deteriorate the soil faster, and it's going to kill broadleaf plants. And a broadleaf plant is anything that doesn't have a stem. And included in that is clover. Clover is very healthy for animals. They love it. And it's also fun. Westy likes to go find four-leaf clovers. But not just is clover a delightful food source for my animals, and it's full of protein, but it is a legume, just like a bean. And legumes can bring in, they breathe in the nitrogen from the atmosphere. So all the grasses, and there's clover as you can see, but grass can only take in nitrogen through an interaction of bacteria and fungi in its roots. But legumes breathe it in. They then put it down in the soil vis-a-vis their roots, and when the cows come and eat the clover, those roots die back, and then that nitrogen is in the soil. So instead of using all these chemical inputs with a linear approach that is continuously, because it's deteriorating the soil, if you spray fertilizer and herbicide, you have to use more of those every year. But by doing none of those, and I'll tell you what I do with my animals, my soil's getting better every year, and my clover is putting nitrogen in the soil for free. Again, color me crazy. It's almost like it was a cool design system that I'm just trying to not screw up and trying to maximize. So what do? We move, and let me see if I set it on the next slide. Yeah, all right, here, we'll do that. All right, so I move the animals every day. Here's a mama cow and her calf on the left, and then some cute pigs. So we move animals. If you think about in nature, large groups of herbivores, they stay in a tight bunch, right? Think of bison moving across the plain. They're in a huge group because there's predators all around. There's wolves, mountain lions, people, all these things that want to eat them. So they bunch together. And because they're bunched together, they can't be real picky in what they eat. Because if I'm Bill the buffalo, I got to eat whatever green thing's in front of me, or else Debbie the buffalo is going to eat it, and there's nothing for me. So they're just eating everything, stomping it all in with their hoofs, fertilizing. I imagine that buffalo produce a similar amount of fertilizer as cows. And then they're moving on. And then that land gets to rest, all right? And that is called mob grazing. So we use electric fence. I just use a single strand of electric fence, and we go step in temporary posts every day, and we move our cows every day. So they can't just roam our farm. If you come to my farm, the cows are only going to be on a very small portion of it at any given time. The opposite of that, which is kind of the industry norm, is called continuous grazing. And that's where the cows just go wherever the heck they want to go. And that sounds fine, like why not? Because there's no really natural predators to go and hunt them, so they get out of their natural herd instinct. Well, if they go wherever they want to go, a couple things are going to happen. One, When they see their favorite plants, they're going to eat those plants. Good. But then as soon as those plants grow back a little bit, they're going to eat them again. So my best forage for my cows is getting the most stress. So it lowers, and it's competitive advantage. The worst food, and the things we would think of as weeds, don't get eaten on or trampled on, so they thrive. So my pastures would deteriorate. Also, cows don't really want to go wandering off. If you think about, if you could go and get a meal at the back of the room, or if you had to walk 2 miles to get a meal, which would you pick? I would probably just go to the back of the room, and cows are the same. So there would be huge swaths of your property that are less fertilized because the cows aren't going to go over there. So by moving them every day, they're eating everything evenly, fertilizing, and stomping it down, and then it all gets to rest. So that's what we want to do. We started out with just the cows, and then we got more animals because I started to learn about how nature is obviously very diverse. And if you see large groups of herbivores, there's almost always groups of birds that are flying around them because they're eating the flies and the bugs and the larvae out of the cow pies. So we got chickens and turkeys. And pigs and kind of forest creatures like that do a whole different good thing to the land. And a thing that I love about pigs is BLTs. And they make those. When people come for tours, we sell a lot of pork, but we also have a lot of piglets. Piglets are born at the farm, and like we just had a group from UNG out, and there was like 11 super cute little piglets. And sometimes people ask me, "Hey, is it difficult? These pigs are so cute." To then harvest and eat them. And I share with them that it's not hard at all. And the reason it's not is because I really care for these animals. Like we're not just stewarding the land, but we are stewarding the animals. Like we want a low stress environment. We want them to live in the most natural state possible. So they get to live the best pig life that there is. They're frolicking around outside in the woods. They love it. And they don't have a bad day at the end. They have a millisecond of discomfort. So I feel great about eating this pork because it lived the best pig life possible. Pigs actually give me the most joy of any animal on the farm, as long as Westy and I aren't having to chase them, right, Westy? As long as they're in their pen. But pigs are very intelligent. They very much are similar to dogs. And I give them belly rubs and ear scratches and everything. They come when I call. And so because of that, when they're in an industrial situation, they're living in one of two setups. They're going to live in a warehouse either way. But one, they would be on a concrete floor that could be hosed down, or they're going to be on plastic slats over a manure lagoon. Manure lagoon doesn't sound good, does it, Weston? No. And the thing is, not only is that gross for them to be penned in there in their own defecation, but pigs, I believe it's 90% of their waking hours are spent rooting around. I don't know. Well, I know a little bit about why. I don't know why they want to root around so much. Their noses are not that hard. They seem kind of soft, but they just dig in the soil with their nose all day. And they're eating bugs, they're eating grubs, but they just love it. You'll always find them with some dirt on their nose. Interestingly, their noses always look really clean inside. But they love to root around. And if they're on a concrete floor or plastic slats, they cannot root around at all. And so in an industrial hog farm, they actually dock their tails at birth because otherwise they're so devoid of mental stimulation that they will chew each other's tails off and cause infection. So they just remove their tails. And that is gross and that is terrible, and we should feel bad about it. So that's why I do this. So that's why they give me so much joy, because their life improvement is the highest. The chickens that we raise, their life improvement is also of equal significance, but chickens are, I think they're too dumb to realize. Pigs are smart. There's only one thing less intelligent than chickens on the farm, and that's turkeys. Okay, lessons from the farm. Look, y'all, you and I are reading this for the first time. I didn't put in these 4 things. I think they pulled some from my website. This AI tool put it together. It's so fun that we're doing this. Okay, but these are all things that we have. I mean, they pull it from our Instagram and stuff. But land stewardship. I never use this exact words, but I like it. We don't inherit land from our ancestors. We borrow it from our children. Although I do love the thought of inheriting it from our ancestors too. I like both sides of the continuum. We moved to our farm, as I said, in 2019, and people will ask me, like, is this a family farm? And I say, yes, my family is on it, but I didn't inherit it. But I want it to go on, and I love the heritage of the people there before me. My farm store that you saw was actually the original Hopewell Church. So we're on Hopewell Church Road, so we're up the road. And from my understanding, it was built in the early 1800s. There's an addition that I know is from 1917, and it got moved there when they built the new church. So it got moved to my land 40 or 50 years ago. And I love thinking about how people were living and farming my land a couple hundred years ago. There's a well that was just buried by brush. It's an old well that you can look in and see where some guy, you could see the shovel marks where he dug it. This barn, or it is a barn, it was the church, you could see where people chiseled these hand-hewn beams from trees that we don't even have trees that size anymore. And so I love that heritage. And our fifth child, JP, who was just born 4 months ago, he was actually born at the farm in my hallway in front of the grandfather clock. And I thought, this is the first of my children born here, but I'm sure there were many, many, many children born here by pre-Cherokee civilizations, then the Cherokees, then settlers. And anyway, I love thinking about the future generation, but I love tying into, I get jazzed about that I'm continuing something on. On that note, in my bio, it mentions the land trust. I am involved with the North Georgia Land Trust, and we exist to protect land voluntarily. We're not an anti-development or anything, but just for people who want to protect land. I will put my land in the land trust. So there's two things to do. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, and we'll get back to the farm. But people donate land to the land trust so that it is permanently protected. It can never be developed, subdivided. It will be there for passive recreation, hiking or whatever, or people could farm it. What I will do with my farm is I'm going to put a permanent conservation easement on it, meaning that forever, not for my lifetime, not just through Weston's lifetime, forever, no one can subdivide my farm. Nobody can develop it. They can just let it grow up in trees and be forest. I hope they keep it as a farm. They could deer hunt. People will own it. I'll still own it. I can sell it. Weston and his siblings can inherit it, but they would inherit it in one piece. And that's very important to me because we need farms. And my farm was slated to be a subdivision in like the 90s, and it didn't go through for some reason. And I think of all the lives we've touched and impact we've had because we're a farm. So that's part of our growth plan. Like, we want to be farming 1,000 acres, so for part of the reason that we can protect them and people can eat delicious food from them. We want to work within nature's rhythms. Again, we don't want to be fighting nature. If you see a lovely golf course, it's all one kind of grass, and it looks lovely, I think. Westy loves a good golf course. And it calls to our sense of order, right? But when I see a golf course, I do think it looks lovely, but I also think there's so much chemical and energy inputs that have to go into fighting nature to maintain that. Because nature's diverse. They want all, nature wants all these different sorts of plants and they play different things. So we want to work within nature. Community connection. I love getting to do this. I'm here speaking to you because you're someone in my community and I think farming's cool and I'd like you to know about it. We have farm tours the last Saturday of every month at 9 o'clock, which are free, and you're welcome to come. And if you have kids or grandkids, bring them. They'll love it. They could hold a baby chicken. It's fun for kids of all ages. So I love to do that. And then resilience through diversity. If you recall, during COVID, there was you couldn't get some foods at the grocery store. And a big reason for that is because we have a very, very unresilient food system. I'm actually going to go speak at a workshop at the end of the month with an organization, CFAR, Center for Agricultural Resilience. It's about building up the resiliency of our food system. The beef and pork production in our country is controlled by just a handful of companies. And a large beef plant out west shut down, and it disrupted the whole supply. People could not get meat. And that is not a good thing. Growth is great. The bigger that my farm gets, the more economies of scale that we get, so that is good. But there would be a size at which I had diminishing returns. And so small farms are a great answer. Small farms and small meat processors. If a huge meat plant or some national disaster happens, guess what? I'm still producing beef, pork, chicken, and turkey because I'm in a local micro market. And the more farms like mine we have, the better. That is why we exclusively sell local. I deliver in Hall County every Wednesday. I do also go to a Gwinnett County farmers market, but I want my farm to be exclusively, we sell in Hall County and counties that touch it. And there's 2 reasons for that. Well, I guess 3. 1, I like local. I like that I'm feeding my neighbors. That brings me joy. Number 2, I want to provide the best service possible, so I want to be able to, without using FedEx, plop food in a cooler on people's porch. But 3 is I do want more farms than me. So I do not want to ship nationally. I don't want to ship to Florida or Texas because I want farms in Florida and Texas to be doing what I'm doing, hopefully even better than me. Local is good. The power of business. Okay, and what time do I need to wrap this up? I don't want to go over. I'm excited. Oh, good. Okay. Well, if it gets boring, Shrouder, just pull me off. Good, but I got to get excited. We are a business, and I have learned, again, I love business. When I started growing the farm, I was still working at the bank, and I would get up. It worked out good that it was COVID because I had just no in-person board meetings or anything. So I was busy doing these things, PPP loans, but I could just go and figure out the farm. So that timing kind of worked out well for me. And also, the only places I wanted to go, which were Tractor Supply and Home Depot, were still open. So it worked out well, and I was there a lot. But I love business, and what I told myself when we started growing and we started selling product is, hey, I think I want to just do this. I love being a banker, so what I think I'll do is I want to just do this, but I always want to do consulting some because I want to work with business because I like it. So that's why I was able to leave banking before the farm was able to support my life, because I just started this other consulting firm and we do fractional CFOs, which actually is very Lanier Village-esque if you ask me. Because when I think of Lanier Village, I do think of fun, and I think of, someone mentioned a cruise ship that is docked. I kind of always thought it seems like it would be just like a later in life freshman year dorm of college. You've got all these other people. They're exciting and they're fun and they want to make friends and they want to do things and they're all here together. What a delight, rather than just like being in some house in a neighborhood. You know, you got all these built-in buddies and new experiences and exciting, very intelligent people. And I connected some disparate resources as I saw it. There's a thing called fractional chief financial officers. So it's folks that they were CFOs and they don't want to work every day. And so they go work with a company, a growing company, 1 or 2 days a week. And a lot of those guys are like retired CFOs. So that is like my business. I get these really good CFOs that don't want to work every day, and I kind of give them a program and we go serve businesses. Anyway, so that's what I did so that I could farm more and not have a different job. But the power of business, the place I was going with that is I've really learned the power of business to do good. I can do so much good with my farm in part because I'm a business. I'm not a not-for-profit. Now, I'll tell you, we actually have not made a profit yet because we keep reinvesting and growing. As if you think about it, if you harvest 30 pigs one year and you get the profit from them, but then you've got to feed 100 pigs the next year, it just doesn't keep up because they eat a lot. Once they get older, they eat like 12 pounds a day. So I'm totally cool with where we're at. Like, we will be profitable, but we have a growth strategy. But anyway, being a business is so powerful for good. A couple examples. Maybe 2 years ago, there's a big storm, and I was pulling out of the farm. This is when I still worked at the bank, and I was going to a meeting, and there was a big tree that had fallen and was blocking my road. And I thought to myself, no big deal. I'm going to turn my truck around and go another way. But then I thought, never mind that. I own a tractor, and I'm going to move this doggone tree. So I just drove back home, fired up the tractor, and I went and moved this tree off the road, and now everybody could go drive by. But I only have a tractor because I have a business to pay for the tractor and necessitate the tractor. In the same way, we purchase hay. Our cows are all grass-fed. That means they're just eating things that grow in the pasture, and we can talk about why that's important and what that means, because there's some confusing food labels out there. But in the winter, grass isn't growing, so during the spring and fall, the excess grass is cut and baled into hay, and that's what they eat during the winter. I don't bale any of my own hay because I don't have excess grass. To have excess grass, I'd need less cows, so I purchase hay. Well, I do things all organic, and so I'm not going to use hay that has been sprayed with herbicide, because that's going to kind of mess my whole deal up. So I purchase about $20,000 a year worth of hay. Well, the guys I purchase it from, they don't really care about regenerative agriculture. They're not really against it. They're just not thinking about that. They're thinking, hey, they're thinking of hay, and they are thinking, hey, I'm just going to spray this fertilizer, and I'm going to spray this herbicide because that's what I'm supposed to do to get better hay. But I just tell them, hey, I don't want it with any of that stuff on there, so don't. So they set aside 10, 15, 20 acres for me that doesn't get any of that stuff. So now that hay field is effectively organic because I am writing a check. And that has been a powerful thing to learn, and money is a great motivator, right? So because I'm a business, and as I grow more and more, I can have a positive effect that goes well beyond my farm. Already, I lease another 47 acres, so we're like 91 acres total, but I can't produce all the beef that is required for demand. I really can't produce enough of anything to keep up with demand at this point, except for pork and chicken almost. So I work with other farmers that maybe they inherited 200 acres or something and a whole bunch of cows, and they do that cow-calf thing, and they may be doing some of the good practices we're doing already, and I say, hey, if you do these things, I'll buy cows from you. And that works because they want to get paid. So now they're doing things slightly better. They're getting paid. Everybody wins. And I get to impact a much greater area of land than just my farm. And that was a tough thing to grasp, to be able to do that, because I love land and I love having farm. So it's just tough to grasp that I could have a bigger impact faster by working with other people. And here's a lovely young lady, Ida, who I met, and she and her roommates are painters, and they now work at farmers markets for me every Saturday, and they're going to paint a mural at the barn. And that's another good power of business, is that I get to develop all these young people. I think we have like 7 or 8 employees now, something like that. And I love getting to pour in these young people. I also have found myself being in the role of a matchmaker, because there's all these young 20-somethings. And I'll tell you, it seems to me, I don't know if you have any granddaughters or grandsons, but it seems like there's a higher number of high-quality young ladies than there are same caliber young men to date them. So when I meet a nice young guy, I'm like, hey, Ida has a boyfriend, but I'll say, let me introduce you to this gal. It's tough to find good man out there. Anyway, I love pouring into people, which I get to do because of business. So as you can see on the bottom, we sell direct to consumer. We do have 1 or 2 wholesale accounts, like we provide the meat to Eagle Ranch, and then we provide the beef to Caroline's in downtown Flowery Branch. People will often ask me, like, if I have a goal of being in Kroger or something like that, and I don't have that goal at all, because then I have to give them a big wholesale discount, and I don't want to give them a discount. I am the Kroger, so I don't want to mess with Kroger. I want to be that. So we invest money in marketing, so we are using up margin to market, but then we get to control it, which is good. I like it. And again, we sell to people by our Honor System Farm Store. We deliver in Hall County every Wednesday, and then we go to a large number of markets. Community is everything. So yeah, we love having people at the farm. This guy, it looks like he's drinking a Corona. I think it was a Topo Chico, but he's on the tractor. And this was during a team building. We do like corporate team buildings on the farm. And this guy brought his business out. We do a fun half-day thing. And they have to there's a scavenger hunt. I would do the team buildings. I do like a 2-hour tour. We're walking around the farm. And the same laws of nature that apply to the farm really parallel with interpersonal and kind of like leadership principles too. So that's what we do on the team building. We walk around there learning about the farm and seeing the cute animals, and we're weaving in leadership lessons. Well, when I first started doing it, it comes with lunch. that we cook from the farm. And I was like, what am I going to have these people do while I grill up all these grass-fed burgers? So I was like, I'll have them go on a scavenger hunt. And now people love the scavenger hunt, and now I have somebody else cook the burgers, but it just came about because I needed to fill some time. But they have to go take pictures of certain things like them on a tractor. In the middle there's a young lady who wrote this book, Eat for Energy, that she just did a workshop at the farm. And then that picture on the right, that could have been like our homeschool co-op. It could have been a school group. I don't know what it is, but I'd love to have a good party at the farm. It could have been my 40th birthday. Probably one of my favorite days of the farm was Sunday, the 31st of August, just not quite 2 weeks ago. And one of my main guys at the farm, Logan, married his lovely bride, Corinne, at the farm. They got married there, and we smoked a whole pig. And because Logan, he's becoming a different level of a man now, he's married, I had him dispatch the pig, which he did well. And then we slathered it up with mustard and brown sugar and smoked it for 25 hours. And it was delicious, I will tell you. Very good. Yeah. And on that note of animal processing, there are very, very many challenges to doing this kind of agriculture. And this is very different from our industrial system. So when we have to deal with government oversight, which we do a lot, all the government oversight is built around these really megalithic industries, but we have to have the same rules apply. So but for beef and pork, I actually cannot harvest a pig at the farm and sell it legally. So I have to take it to a USDA plant. Luckily, I'm very blessed. There's the Steel Buffalo, it's called, and it's only 15 to 17 minutes from my house. So what a blessing. That's like very close for a processing plant. We use other ones that are an hour away, and which still, for some people, that's pretty good. Some people have to drive 3 hours to get to it because there's a shortage of them. It's a tough business to be in. But we take our cows and pigs there. They have to walk off the trailer. So if I have a cow that breaks her leg or something, there's just nothing to happen with her. Like they're not allowed to not walk off the trailer. Anyway, so I take the beef and pork there. But for the chickens, we had to invest in our own poultry processing plant because there's only one place in the state that a guy like me could take his chickens to. And you might think, we're in Gainesville. It's the poultry capital of the world. And right across from my farm, there's a Fieldale plant. And hundreds of thousands, I think, of chickens go there every day. But that is for Fieldale. That is not for me. I can't just pull up with my chickens. And quite frankly, I would not want to. Because they do things there that I would not do. For example, if you look at and this is nothing against Fieldale. This is just how all the poultry industry works. If you look at a package of chicken, it will say may contain up to 12% water weight. They have to disclose that. Well, I'll tell you, that's not just delightful, fresh, distilled spring water from the all-natural spring right there. When the chickens are harvested, they go into an ice bath, which ours do the same thing. But at the big poultry plants, because they sell by the weight, their whole goal is to maximize pounds and yield. So before they go in the ice bath, they dip them again in hot water to kind of open the pores up so that when it goes in this huge tank where tens of thousands of chickens have gone all day, that it will absorb water from said tank so it will be heavier. And you can tell a big difference, like when you cook our chicken, like if you were just like cooking in a pot to make soup, well, it just looks like normal. But if you do that with normal chicken from the store, there's all this frothing and bubbles. And that's because there's all this weird chemically water. It's like you just like poured a cup of pool water in with your chicken. Anyway, so we don't want to do that. There's only one place in the state that I could take my chickens to, and they don't do that there because they harvest chickens only for third parties, so they don't care about the weight. I'm just paying them to the chickens. But they're in Loganville, and that's quite a haul. And when you have to load up crates of hundreds of chickens and get them to Loganville at like 7 in the morning, that's not fun. And then you haul your crates back, and then you go back the next day. Oh, no, you don't haul your crates back yet. You leave the chickens in crates. So then the next day, you got to go pick up your crates, which chickens were in, pooping. So that's got to stay dirty. But then you got to get your clean, bagged, processed chicken at the same time. That's just not a win. And that costs $14 a bird to take them there if you're going to get them to cut it up into breasts and wings and stuff. And a couple years ago, when I ordered my Thanksgiving turkey poults, a baby turkey's called a poult, not a chick, and I called Atlanta Poultry Processing, that one place, to say, hey, I need to reserve a spot for turkeys. They said, well, we're not going to do turkeys anymore. So there's nowhere in the state to harvest turkeys. And I happen to have, right now, 350 turkeys. And they don't taste so good alive. I mean, I haven't tried, but it seems inconvenient. So we had to build a poultry processing plant or not grow our business. And if you process less than 20,000 birds a year from your own farm that are sold exclusively within your state, you are USDA exempt. So you don't need a USDA plant. You fall under the Georgia Department of Ag. So we work with them and built this plant, and it cost about $100,000. And we had to do it. But, again, we're going to process birds tomorrow, and I track it pretty good. My labor, tomorrow, I'll employ 10 people, and my labor and packaging cost, so my variable cost per bird is about $4. So I'm saving about $10 a bird. And isn't that the way things go in life? Like, I had to take a big risk, and it is paying off. Now I have to go sell all that chicken, which is good because I need that chicken. Because the birds live outside, so once they get out of the brooder stage, they got to live under heat lamps for the first couple weeks, but then they go outside, and our chickens live out on the pasture. I think there was a picture of them a couple slides back. It's not that great of a picture, but this is like their little mobile structure. You can see it's made out of PVC. It's very light. And it's like a 12 by 10 thing with chicken wire around it and no floor and a roof. And 75 chicks go in there, and they live there for 5.5 weeks. And it gets moved every day. That's why it's light. So these birds are in here. There's a line of them. There's like 20-something of these chicken tractors in the pasture with, pardon me, all these chicks. And every day we go out there and we just slide it its own length. So they're not in a big chicken house that they stay in on their own feces for weeks and weeks. They get fresh pasture every day. And at first you have to like watch out and go slow and get them used to it so you don't run them over. But then once they figure it out, they are rushing ahead every day because chickens are omnivores and they love meat. There is nothing a chick likes more or a chicken likes more than a grasshopper. So they are all rushing ahead to be the first to get the bugs. And they love eating the grass and the bugs. So, I mean, the chicken, it tastes so superior because they live outside and they eat plants and bugs. Yeah, it's weird to me. You'll see some things like sometimes like vegetarian-fed eggs. And that came about because in the industrial farming setup, they will take dead animals and the offal, the guts of animals, and render them. There's a huge industry in Georgia where it's like they're taking all that byproduct and rendering it. And rendering means they use heat and pressure to break it down into its chemical compounds. So they take, I mean, I've seen it. It's just huge vats of chicken guts and blood and dead chickens. And and I'm going to tell you, chicken turns quick, especially in July. I mean, it gets nasty, but they don't care how nasty it gets because they just use heat and pressure, and they break it down into fats and oils and feather meal and bone meal and protein, and then they turn that into animal feed. So that's where, like, I guess it became a marketing thing, vegetarian raised eggs or chicken, because they're saying these chickens weren't fed chicken, which sounds better, doesn't it? I mean, I don't really want chicken that's eating chicken. And that's how we got mad cow disease, is from cows being fed protein from cow. Okay. But the chickens are out on the pasture, and then they go to our plant, and that's working out well. That is totally different than farming. That is manufacturing, or rather deconstructing. Alive tomorrow, there's going to be 750 chickens. We're going to start at 5 in the morning. They're going to start living chickens, and they're going to come out packaged, vacuum sealed, boneless, skinless breasts and wings and thighs and stuff like that. Ooh. Come visit us. Again, free farm tour. Here are the details. 9 o'clock, the last Saturday of the month. We do walk around in the pasture. Now, if you don't really feel like walking very far, a lot of the action is right around like the central area, so you could see a lot of good things and then just opt out of walking far out into the pasture. Because the animals move all the time, every tour is different. So right now the cows are here and the chickens are here and the turkeys are there. Next month they'll be all sorts of different places. Because we're walking in the pasture and there is all of that fertilizer that I told you about, and I only told you about the cow fertilizer. There's more. You know, I would not wear white sneakers, nor would I wear flip-flops. Westy's siblings and he go around barefoot most of the year. Look, seriously, this is so crazy. This is awesome. I did not type this up. AI put this together for me. What to bring: weather-appropriate clothing, closed-toed shoes, a water bottle, and your curiosity. I love that. I didn't put that in there. How cool. It says RSVP. You do not need to RSVP. The tour is going on the last Saturday of the month at 9. And you could just show up. You could decide at 8. It's 6 minutes away. You could decide at 8:50 you want to come and just come. It's free. You don't have to pay for it, so you don't need to tell me. This month, the tour will be on the 27th, which is my birthday, and one of those art gals that I told you about is going to do a painting class immediately after in the barn, and you're going to paint the barn and the pasture, which sounds fun. Now, that part is not free. I don't know what she charges for it, but it's not too much, I don't think. So if you want to connect with us, well, I'm here now. That's what we're doing. But you can call me. This is a AI miss. That is, I don't know what number that is. It's not my phone number. But but my phone number is on the website, and you're welcome to call it. And here's a pretty picture of our garden, and then that barn that if you look and see the tractor, if you look at the A-frame part, that is that original church. And if you walk inside, you can see those old beams and stuff. It's pretty cool. Yes, would love some questions.
Wait for the mic. Please make sure you wait for the mic so we can record your wonderful questions.
Test. There we go. Are you able to utilize, I think at North Hall High School, didn't they build a
They have a
meat
plant.
processing?
Yes.
Yes.
I have not used them yet. I am a big fan of what they're doing. I am somewhat torn in that I am such a fan of supporting the schools, and I really love that the school's doing that. But then also, my meat processor, he's running a small business, so I want to support him. But I just dropped a cow off yesterday there, and that will be the last cow I'll get harvested there this year, because starting Saturday, it's archery season, so he'll be exclusively doing deer. So I probably will use them. So I'm a big fan, but also I want to support local businesses so those kids have somewhere to work.
Sure, I understand that. Thank you.
You talk about all those cute little pigs that you love. Do you name them?
We have named a few, but a longer answer. A girl pig that has had babies is a sow. Prior to having piglets, she is a gilt. So our sows have an average of 11 to 14 piglets at a time. So we're harvesting 70 plus pigs a year. So they look pretty similar. So I can't logistically do that if I wanted to. But we have a limited number of sows, and so the sows get names. So the first 4 got pork product names and proper names. For example, Priscilla Pork Roast. What was another one, Westy? Cordelia Salami. So we named them. And interestingly, we got some new gilts that are now sows, and they were cute. And my daughters are Caroline and Libby. And I said, hey, I was just joking around. I didn't think they'd like it. I was like, hey, we'll name these Caroline and Libby. And they thought it was cool. So now they're Caroline and Libby, the sows. And they're the best sows I have.
You talked about raising, about the food that they eat that's natural. Do you feed them anything other than the natural foods?
Wonderful question. Okay, the cows eat exclusively what grows in the pasture. And cows, they're made to eat leafy, fibrous plants, okay? So they have very complex digestive systems called rumens. They have a multiple chambered stomach. Cows go out and they rip and clip, as I call it. They're ripping grass and clover and leaves, shoveling it down their stomachs. Then they go lay down in the shade and ruminate, so they regurgitate it. Now they chew it. So if you see a cow laying down in the shade, she's chewing it up to then go down into her rumen, which is a fermentation tank. Their food, if you think about how amazing it is, my pastures are full of this grass, this fibrous grass, which guess what? All that is solar panels. So there's energy from the sun. Plants are using chlorophyll to produce the chemical process of photosynthesize, photo, light, synthesize, change. So they're converting the energy to solid starches and sugars. And then they're turning that grass into ribeye, blue cheese burgers, chocolate milkshakes, leather belts, and it is amazing. So anyway, because there's not that much nutrition in there, they actually have to ferment it, and most of it is tough fiber. So that fermentation process puts bacteria into that fiber, which is going to go out their rear end. And that bacteria, again, it's like it was all designed. That mirrors the healthy bacteria in the soil. So they're taking all this carbon, which is what that fiber is, because they breathe in carbon dioxide. They are the reverse of us, plants. Again, it's like it was designed. I breathe out carbon dioxide. I breathe in oxygen. They breathe in carbon dioxide, out oxygen. Anyway, they're turning that carbon and inoculating with bacteria to turn into soil. It's so cool. Okay, so they just eat grass, and then I give them salt. The chickens and pigs and turkeys are omnivores like us, so they can eat some grains. That's okay. So they still get all natural feed, but they do get a supplemental feed. All three, chickens, pigs, and turkeys, they get a non-GMO, non-genetically modified feed, and they eat different amounts. So real quick, if you think about our stewardship of nature, I am actively stewarding nature, and I am not just a passive observer. If I have a sow and she only has 3 piglets, she will not continue to be a sow on the farm. She will be maple sausage. They need to have at least 10 piglets, because that's what I want. So I am continuously taking the best genetics and letting them pass things on. That's natural selection. I'm just stewarding it along. Okay? So we're selectively breeding. I am being the intelligent designer. But genetic modification is where we say we want certain characteristics. Like the main genetic modification that we use is and I say we, just culture, we want Roundup Ready corn and soybeans. So we want Roundup is a carcinogen. It's got glyphosate in it, which we know will kill you. And so because it kills plants, they've genetically modified, they've spliced the genes of corn and soybeans so that you could just spray Roundup right on it. And it'll kill the weeds and not the corn. And nobody seems to think, but now it's on the corn that I'm going to eat. But anyway, so we use a non-GMO feed that just has different plant matter for the omnivores. And I get that from a place, Rosaka Sun in Georgia.
Just a question on the mass numbers of birds, for instance, that you process. Do you then, once you've packaged them, freeze them?
Great
Do you
question.
have your own?
Yeah. In fact, my guys are going to Lowe's to get 2 more freezers today, because because the chickens live outside, we only do it March through October. So this is the second to last batch I will do per year. So last year I sold out a chicken in early January. This year I'm hoping I can make it to the spring when I'll harvest again, because I want my customers to be able to get all their all-natural proteins from me. So if you're in alignment with nature, you just can't have chicken all year in Georgia. It just doesn't work that way. So yes, it has to be frozen immediately. Some quick notes on meat. White meat comes from omnivores. So chickens, pigs, turkeys, and it deteriorates very quickly. You have to get it frozen right away. It's going in the freezer tomorrow. Okay? Now the exclusion to that is we're the largest provider of fresh turkeys in the state, and which sounds cool, which is why I said it, but we're kind of like the only one. So that's why. But the week of Thanksgiving, we will harvest all of our turkeys on Monday so that people can pick them up on Tuesday and never have them be frozen, which is pretty cool. So they won't get frozen. But yes, it has to be frozen. Red meat comes from herbivores. Think cows, sheep, goats, and rabbits. Red meat does not deteriorate quickly. So when I want to eat a steak, I get my vacuum sealed steak, how it comes from the processor, and I let it sit in my fridge for a couple weeks. And it ages and gets better. You cannot do that with a pork chop. In the same way, red meat, There is nothing in it which will hurt you. So we could go harvest a cow together right now, Mary Bob, you and me. And we go out there and harvest a cow, and we cut it up, and we can just eat it raw, and we're going to be fine. It would be chewy, but there's nothing that could hurt us. We can't do that with an omnivore. That's why, so the only things in red meat that would hurt you floated in from the air. That's why when I cook a steak, I sear the outside, and that's it. And you killed any bacteria that could have come from the air. But omnivore meat, white meat, is different. There could be, I assume, that any and all raw chicken has salmonella, because it could. There's things in pork and chicken, and I think it's because we're omnivores, so we're closer to them, which could hurt us. So longer answer than you want, but that's just fun meat knowledge to know.
So I had chickens for a while, and when you get a baby chick, it's almost standard practice that they're like, here, give them this antibiotic baby feed. I'm assuming you don't do that.
I don't.
Where does that come from? Why do they do that? And what do you do on your farm to prevent illness?
Great question. I don't give any medications or vaccines to anything on the farm at all. I'm not against vaccines, but working in alignment with nature, animals have an immune system, which I want to build up with a healthy life. If I were to put 20,000 chickens in a meat warehouse, which we like to call chicken houses, then that is a very inflammatory, unhealthy environment. So because I'm going against nature, I must use chemical resources to combat what happens. Just like I mentioned with the golf course. If I want to have one kind of grass, I have to use lots of chemicals to achieve that. So I just treat them like nature does. And some of them will get sick and die. I'm going to go through 5,500 chickens roughly. There will be a few that will get sick and die. And that is part of it. It is nature. In the same way, the standard practice for cows is that you would give them a dewormer, because animals get parasites just like we're animals, and we get parasites, and we have to watch out for that. The guy who got married, he had a groomsman thing, a bachelor party at this all-you-can-eat sushi place in town. And they were eating all this raw fish. I said, guys, I'm not touching that. You're guaranteed to be getting a parasite from this $27 all-you-can-eat sushi. Anyhoodle. When I move my cows every day, I'm breaking the parasite cycle. So what happens is that they ingest parasite eggs. The parasite then proliferates in the gut, puts more eggs out the manure, then it comes out, the larvae hatch, crawl up on grass to be eaten again. So if they were in that same spot all the time, they would get overloaded with those parasites. But when I move them every day, that doesn't happen. Also, I move my chickens behind them, and there's nothing more that a chicken likes than to go eat some fly larvae growing on some grass, or whatever kind of larvae. So I raise them in accordance with nature, and that's very important because everything is holistic, right? So if I gave them a dewormer, well, guess what? Now their manure, which is a great asset, it really is, but it's this great fertilizer. That manure that comes out is incorporated into the soil and feeds my plants because earthworms break it down. Something called a dung beetle breaks it down. But if I gave them dewormers, that manure pile is toxic to earthworms. Think, a chemical went through its gut that kills worms. Well, I need worms. Well, now I just killed the worms and the dung beetles. So it's like lying. If you say a little lie, now you got to lie again to cover up your lie. And it's the same way. If you're fighting nature, every chemical input causes another problem you got to use a chemical input to fix. But guess what? There's some great research funded by chemical companies that says it's all great. It's unbiased stuff.
I'm really impressed. I've known you for a while, and I didn't know you were this daggone smart. I'm really impressed. What is your 5-year plan?
Okay. What I would like to do in 5 years is I would like to be farming 1,000 acres. And that could either be, it's not going to be farms that Hopewell Farms owns. The cost of land in our area cannot be paid for by farming. It's not possible. But I would like to buy more and more farms. So I want to be farming 1,000 acres, which could be a combination of owned land, rented land, and partners, where it's like you're raising cows for me with my protocol on your 200 acres. I want to farm 1,000 acres. I'd like to do $2.5 million worth of sales, being exclusive here. And the key part for me, besides those numbers, is I want to do it with an ever-increasing team of people that is operating in highly efficient systems. When I started out, you learn your strengths and weaknesses. And a strength of mine is that I always think, well, if somebody else did it, why can't I do it? So I am happy to start and engage in anything. And if you saw how pretty my wife was, you'd get it. Like, you got to just be able to go for it. You're going to ask a girl like that on a date. So I'm very good at starting things and getting things going. But what I learned was, because I was working at the bank and I was growing the farm, I allowed myself to leave loose ends untied, because I thought, well, I just got to be in a hurry because I got to go do this and then I got to go close a loan. And so I have been working to refine where we have great systems, where we're the most efficient in our processes. And so that is my heart's desire, because I am called to bring order to this, so like, to have a good structure and order and team and that sort of thing.
Phil, I'm sorry to ask you to cut it off, but it's that time. Can you hang around if people have questions
Sure.
for you? Okay. Thank you so much. You're delightful. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mary Bob.